Yes, very warm welcome. Big pleasure for me speaking here on the eSIM Summit, because eSIM management is actually part of my business life since over 15 years. Back in 2008, we had a very small team writing down the first principles of eSIM management. 2010, together with Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone, and Telefonica, we wrote down the first specification considering the requirements of the different stakeholders. And then that is something actually what we handed over to the GSMA, which gave eSIM management really a start in the industry. But before, allow me to say a few words on the company I'm working with. It's Giesecke+Devrient. So we are a player in, or play a role in many people's life. So if you might not know it, but the probability is high that you might have one product from us in your pocket today. So may it be the banknote we printed, may it be a payment card you have, may it be your passport or your ID card, or may it be a SIM, an eSIM, or an embedded operating system you have in one of your devices. So since many years, we are following this digitization trend because that is unstoppable here in the industry. So today we are the leader in digital currency, digital payment, and manage a large number of digital identities. And of course, also heavily digitization impact our industry, the SIM to eSIM. But where are we in our industry? And I would say we are really at the tipping point of eSIM management. So imagine these over 1.3 billion eSIM-enabled devices being in the field, may it be smartphones, tablets, wearables, vehicles, IoT devices. 1.3 billion devices is a very, very enormous or important volume where MNOs can work with to deliver a digital journey to onboard devices and customers towards their services. And today we see over 700 MNOs leveraging eSIM management in the market to onboard this consumer. And consumer expect a digital journey by today. So that is something what is more and more a requirement, and you need to fulfill that. A much higher requirement is in IoT. So if you as an IoT player would like to onboard your devices with global connectivity and a remote management capability over the lifetime of the device, you require an eSIM management, a digital process. And that will be one of the fundamental kickoffs for a fast-growing cellular IoT market. And there's also one other element, and I think it's definitely worthwhile to mention this, is security in IoT. And we have here on the Mobile World Congress heard a lot about security. But when you think about how can we trust decisions taken by any AI algorithms which impact our life, our business life, and we cannot trust the data where it has been originated. So data integrity is a mandatory must for security in IoT. And the SIM, the eSIM, or the iWises, leveraging some hardware elements, considering the secure processes what we have in place, certification schemes, protection profiles, that is an asset we should value in the really fast-growing eSIM world and of IoT. So when we talk a lot about eSIM management, I would like to very briefly talk about and have a look on what that actually would mean. So the core of our eSIM management is the DP+, and our industry has worked now since years to make that an enormously mature service. So today, you can download any eSIM profile from an MNO via any DP+ to any eSIM-enabled device. That is really an enormous value. So why not use that for other industries like IoT? And that is what the GSMA specification is doing, the SGP 32 for IoT, the 42 for the manufacturing lines. And just to have a quick look how that works, so the DP+ is responsible for taking the data from an MNO, encrypting the data, and sending these data over the air down to the device. Will just take a few seconds. The device has an eSIM application. It's in one case called the LPA or the IPA in IoT or the FPA in the manufacturing case of S332. And then this eSIM application will install the data into the EUICC. In between, we have several services which take care on orchestration eSIM journey, such as the discovery service, which is an ideal solution for user journeys like an open market device, or an entitlement service, which makes sure that services either in device or in the backend system is properly provisioned. For IoT, there is some other services in place, like the device and a connectivity management layer in combination with the new role of the EIM. So if the DP Plus for consumer is such an important element, let me share a few insights what we from G&D have seen. Currently, we are operating our eSIM management service for over 300 customers around the globe. We have downloaded over 175 million profiles. The GSMA specification is an important fundamental enabler when we talk about security, but when you want to operate such a large volume business, you need to have more intelligence in the service, but you also need to have more intelligence in the process. So therefore, adaptive profile management, which allow to adapt the profile depending on the need of the device, is it IoT or consumer device, depending on the network capability, is it 4G or 5G, and last step before downloading to the device, put these adaptations into the profile. That is what our services are offering back since 2019. Of course, operating in a geo-redundant environment, leveraging cloud technology, all that is very important. When we take a look onto eSIM download numbers in our system around the globe for all our customers, then we have seen a steady growth of eSIM transactions over the last years based on some really interesting device launches from the several OEMs. But it was 2022 when Apple decided to launch the first eSIM-only device for the US American market. And that kind of decision and that new device pushed the eSIM transaction on a global scale by a factor 3 higher. That is on the one side a very good message to the market, but I think for me the most important element is the trust what was given from such an OEM and several OEMs into our industry to, on the one side, be capable of deploying and managing these eSIMs in large scale, but it's also a trust into MNOs and their strong commitment toward eSIM management. So when we take a look to eSIM management, we have spoken about consumer. I brought one other example with me, which shows that eSIM management is not only relevant for consumer market segment. And that is an example for private networks. Private networks have an enormously strong growth rate. And Kaleido Intelligence, for example, speak about a growth rate of 115% related to the number of deployments over the next 4 years. So we are working with a German company called Vites, and Vites focus on cases where the normal average cellular infrastructure is not available. So cases, for example, of floodings, earthquakes. And you have the requirement to bring in a network to help the emergency workers. That need to be fast and in a simple way to do. And that's what they call nomadic LTE. So they span a private network in an area. And the challenge was, how can we build an eSIM journey for these disaster teams in this situation of a disaster, of a chaotic environment, which is simple and straightforward. And with our market-leading DP+, in combination with a technology, what is called the universal eSIM voucher, we found that solution. So today there is a QR code, a universal QR code in the area of the private network. The disaster team can bring even the private phones into the area, scan the QR code, and within just in a few seconds, They are ready to go on with their really important job and fulfill and help people. So that is it. You need to understand what it is, the use case, to really lift the potential of eSIM management. And to understand that, what eSIM management means in an IoT environment, I would like to introduce you to another interesting, very typical IoT device. That is a device from a company called Mecomo. It is an asset tracking device. It has a battery, it has a solar panel on it, and you will mount it on containers. And then this device will be shipped around the globe for years and years and years. Lifetime typically far over 10 years. Such a device, or this device, is rated as a maintenance-free device, so this will not come back to your inventory or to your home for repair, software update, or updating the connectivity. And it's also designed for really harsh environments. This device needs to have a soldered SIM in it. It will see enormously hard G-forces. It will see temperature changes. So when we produce that device, it needs to have a cellular connectivity when it leaves the factory. So how can we do that? And this is actually what, if we would produce this device, what we should take a quick look on. So it's our manufacturing line. We are responsible for that device here. So we decide when we produce the device, at which stage of the manufacturing line we will embed and integrate a cellular connectivity. We will also make sure that the reverse logistics process is properly done. So we would also kind of not like or are completely against any additional security certifications, for example, coming from an eSIM SIS certification for our manufacturing line, nor do we want to have a dependency of our manufacturing process on any online availability towards an eSIM management system. So we would like to manage a SIM similar like a normal product, a raw material, a bill of material like resistors, capacitors, solar panels, or pSIMs. So we will go to the selected MNO we have a contract with and ask him, please provide us profiles for my manufacturing. And the DP Plus in this case will create so-called bound profile packages and send these profile packages in batch back to our environment, and we will store these packages into our warehouse. And they sit there. And there will be the moment in time when we go into our warehouse, pick these bound profile packages, hand it over to our manufacturing software, and install it into the device. The benefit is obvious. Single SKU and using what an MNO and a DP Plus already have in hand. So there is a lot of values, quite obvious one, for these headless IoT devices, like my tracking or asset management device, like smart metering devices. So they need to have a cellular connectivity when they leave the factory. But it's also a lot of other values for other market segments and devices when you preload a cellular connectivity to give a much nicer first experience when you onboard your device towards a cellular service. For example, get rid about the Wi-Fi setup or any kind of simplification when we talk about device configuration. We from G&D have seen that this is a really important demand, and we decided a few years ago to start the development of an early pre-SGP42 solution, because we need to understand what are the requirements of this industry, what are the requirements of a manufacturing environment. Otherwise, how would we write a specification which will fit the need? So, and today, we are in a position that we already loaded several tens of millions of eSIM profiles into manufacturing lines. That is on the one side really important because we can today already offer a service to OEMs who would like to start early. But on the other side, we take the practical experience and the learnings and feedback this one into the GSMA working group to make sure that the requirements of this industry are met. So let's go back to my asset and our asset management tracking device. So this is going, it left the factory and it's going around the world for years and years and sending data to our services back at home. And what we have in place as an IoT service provider is this device and connectivity management platform, which has a connectivity towards our device. It's our use case. We have several 100,000 of these devices around the globe shipped and need to be connected. So there will be the moment in time within these 10, 15 years where we would like to add an additional connectivity, for example, a region in South America, or we would like to exchange the MNO. And the GSMA specification has done a really smart approach. So they design a new entity, which is called the EIM, the eSIM IoT Remote Manager. And this eSIM IoT Remote Manager is linked towards our already established device and connectivity management platform. So with our connectivity to this device, we now have the capability to hand over all the necessary data the device needs, and the application, what you have seen at the beginning, the IPA is called in this case, what the IPA needs to talk to the DP Plus from the MNO, and based on the same mechanics, on the same security, on the same process what we have seen in these consumer scenarios, the DP Plus will download a profile towards this device. The eSIM process in this case is designed in a very robust way, so there will never be the situation that this device will not have any connectivity. So that is really important for the IoT industry. So at the beginning I was talking about we are at the tipping point of eSIM and eSIM management in our industry. So when I take a look to these hundreds of millions of eSIM downloads, the processes which have enormously proven, the security, I think we are also now really confirming the tipping point towards IoT industry, because we are reusing what MNOs have in place. We are extending these specifications towards the needs of the different industries. And I think that is an important element to understand, to extend, and also fulfill the needs of this industry. So we from G&D, we have developed an Aeon 360 product family, which include all these different services, and they are seamless working together. So if you are an OEM, and you would like to extend towards IoT, or start with eSIM management, or if you're an OEM and you would like to get ready for eSIM management, design your devices, or if you're an IoT service provider and you would like to manage your devices with eSIM management, then please talk to G&D. We are here in Hall 7, or some of my colleagues are already here. And I think it is an important moment in time where our industry now can deliver a lot of values with elements and services we today have in hand. I would like to thank you from my side that you spend your valuable time with me, with us here on the eSIM Summit. And G&D, we are really happy to talk together with you how we jointly can unleash the full potential of eSIM management for your business. Thank you very much.